Trump says his name may have been planted in the Epstein files.
What's the source? Great.
Bipartisan pushing Congress for full Epstein files.
A bipartisan push to force the Trump administration to release all unclassified records about deceased sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
It's the force of law, and it's got protections to redact victims' names and to prevent, release of child pornography.
President Trump is struggling to shake off a controversy over Epstein he once stoked, but now calls a hoax and a Democratic con job.
I'm focused on making deals. I'm not focused on conspiracy theories that you are.
Sources previously told ABC News the Justice Department devoted about 1,000 people to reviewing the Epstein files. Speaker Mike Johnson sending members of the House home until September to avoid a vote on the issue.
I'll tell you what's politically going to be a liability is if we don't vote on this and we go into the midterms and everybody just check out because Republicans didn't keep their promise in Donald Trump, we'll lose the majority.
Massey's Democratic co-sponsor Ro Khanna said Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell should testify before Congress. But he said given her past statements, the Justice Department should also release the files.
I have skepticism, given she was indicted of perjury, given she has a motive for getting a pardon.
After Maxwell was convicted of trafficking, the perjury charges were not pursued. President Trump has said he's not thinking about a pardon for Maxwell, but he has not ruled it out.
I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
Maxwell, who is serving 20 years for sex trafficking Epstein's victims, met for 9 hours over 2 days last week in Florida with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Sources told ABC News she initiated the meeting and received limited immunity for the statement she made. Her attorney said she did not ask for a pardon and none was offered. If the meeting between Maxwell and Todd Blanche was recorded, and meetings between witnesses and law enforcement officials often are, there will no doubt be a clamor, George, for its release. And Congressman Massey told us he expects pressure on the administration to only build during the summer recess to release the files.
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. What? If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, right, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake.
Is that what we call it?
They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president.
Good question. Perhaps the exact same reason as to why you won't release the files as well, which is that it's mutually assured pedophilia. That's what I call it. It's like, yeah, because...
I mean, it is like just super funny because like he's like in this like weird trap and he's not really figured out a way out of it, where he's like responding to the criticism as if it's coming from the left, when we all know that the loudest, most angry people about this
are his guys.
Exactly. Like it's people who like have like fat heads of Dan Bongino on their wall or whatever.
And we love those brave patriots.
Absolutely.
Make no mistake. We think those brave patriots are right.
I want them to do a Harper's Ferry on like every single Republican like office looking for the trafficked children.
Yeah.
I would encourage this.
Yes. They demand answers. They are perfectly right to demand answers.
And I think,
they need to uncover the global pedophilia conspiracy.
And if people were fucking around with children, then these guys should find out about it.
Yeah. Just remember that.
I do think the idea, though, of it's like there could be phony stuff in there. And it's like, well, the problem now, though, is like it's your people are demanding it. So, and you floated the phony stuff thing. So is it like, is that your new line that like all this stuff is faked? And like, will that persuade anybody? I think I said this to you the other day that like, I believe that this stuff is symptomatic of why the right wing base cannot hold together on like a grounds of shared ideological interest forever, like material basis of what aside, like they just can't. You can't sustain these things. Like you hit a wall at a certain point because like there's literally photos with him. Like unless you are truly, you're able to go with like, all right, Trump was a white hat, whatever. But at the same time, I think that that's like a longer process of like schism. Like I don't think that this is.
No, it's not happening overnight.
Exactly. Like it's going to take time. And as a result, what's happening now is this like incredibly weird situation where Trump will still be and viewed as, and by his base accepted as the leader of the party. And there is not going to be an alternative from the right. But what is happening now is the part of the process by which like his project will become, either, if not discredited, abandoned, and then, reclaimed way down the line when it can just be like debated as legacy. And Trump is probably dead.
Michael Tracy is so funny. He has to be a perma-contrarian, so he's taken another contrarian position on the Epstein stuff.
I thought he's like taking the Epstein stuff seriously, but he only can speak in that contrarian tone. So he's like, well, there's a responsible way to look at this, but these guys are loony because they made a sign.
Yeah. But no. He says like the victims are fabulous as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've seen him say like some of the more prominent outspoken victims of Jeffrey Epstein are actually liars. Serial liars.
I mean, well, that's the typical Michael Tracy delicate charm that we all know and love. That just fine rhetorical finesse. I liked your chatter's comment that it looked like Silent Hill, Ohio.
It's called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing, but she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris, but nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon.
You know what's really funny? He does not bring up.
It was
why
amazing.
He
They
went
predicted
out.
she will have a 6-week honeymoon, and she
he
did.
was so down in the polls,
and then she got slaughtered.
Like, I think he really can't bring up.
But
like,
think of it.
It's because he was
those
old.
files
His brain
were
was
run
bad.
by these
his
people. They
brain
were
is
run
bad.
by my enemy.
Exactly.
If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election. Yeah.
Do you think that drawing, I think I heard you say something the other day, that the drawing that was the subject of the Wall Street Journal report.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
You think it was fraudulent?
I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building? And I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, for charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person.
Sometimes I draw, but I'm not a drawing person. Sometimes I draw. Yeah, because they were fucking saying that you did the fucking Mona Lisa in that birthday thing, not just like the lady version of the thing from The Big Lebowski where the guy draws like a guy with a huge dick on a notepad, like for sure.
Yeah, I don't write, draw. He's a doodler. Not much is true. He's a doodler. He's a big doodler.
I do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women. And also, Epstein was always a very controversial guy. I was at a very high position, pretty much all my life. In all fairness, I've been doing this for a long time. I had the top show on television. I had the #1 bestsellers. I had everything, right? And I was a very successful business guy. He was a very controversial. Who would do a controversial drawing? Now, with that being said,
you motherfucker.
You, dude.
Back then, you were on his ass cheeks.
Also,
dude.
like, grab him by the man. Like, don't like. It is crazy how, we just know that you're this. Like, you're a seedy motherfucker, dude. Like, we know it.
He is a sleazeball. Like, that's part of the reason why. That's part of his appeal. Like, he's supposed to be like a poor man's idea of what they would do if they got to that power, a position of power. I don't get it. Now he's trying to be like all proper. When did this happen?
say there were many letters done by many people, and in many big people.
So there are letters and they are real. Yours just might and your.
I just
what is this
when you
here?
talk about files, I just keep going back, and other people too. Even the enemy says this thing is not correct. because if we had
And
it,
it's
we would have
valid
used
when
it
they
on the
say it
guy.
now,
It's a
only
bad
now for
issue.
this issue.
They say it's a good issue for Trump. Do you know that my poll numbers are up 4.5 points since this ridiculous Epstein stuff? My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points because people don't buy it.
People love
People don't buy
pedophiles.
it.
Pressing X for doubt.
And he's
on that
gone,
one.
and we want to focus on trade deals. I want to focus on the deal we just made with the European Union, which is the biggest trade deal in history. It's the biggest deal, I think, in history, not just trade deal. So if they would have had something, they would have used it.
And
Yeah.
people keep writing stories about the time he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach with him?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain.
Oh, yeah, this
but I
I
don't
heard
want to waste
about.
your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help, and I said, "Don't ever
That's
do
the
that
thing.
again."
He did
stole
something inappropriate. He stole staff from me. That's the breach. It wasn't sex stuff. He's such a dumbass, dude. He's such a fucking dumbass. Why open your mouth on? It's awesome. He doesn't know what to say. Like it's.
I'm sorry. I did not hear this one. This is.
Yeah, dude.
I know he says it's a privilege to go to the island, and I didn't go. He hired help.
Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help, and I said, "Don't ever do that again." He stole people that work for me. I said.
Did he think that this was like an appropriate way to say like that's why we cut ties? Is that
No,
what it is?
it's yes, because think about it from his like like stupid little reptile brain. What he's thinking
'Cause he
is like,
doesn't wanna
listen, they think that we broke they think that we had a breach because he wouldn't let me have sex with my favorite girl. But no, it wasn't actually because of that. It was because my like junior assistant secretary of what have you, he stole away to be like his new cabana girl at the Palm Beach house or whatever. Like that's like he thinks that is because it's like a it's a clean thing that it's like it's a good answer when obviously there's only one answer. If you are going to give an answer, there's only one answer that you should give, which is I stopped talking to him when I learned that he was a pedophile.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's simple.
It's like saying you cut ties with Adolf Hitler because you didn't like his drawings. Like what? And people are like calling into question your deep allegiance to him. Just say it's like all of the other shit.
Look, I'm glad I'm not Charlie Clerk and it's not my job to like have to figure out how to like contort
when
on
he was
this.
saying inappropriate, I thought he was gonna say like, pedophilia. Like he's gonna bring it up in the classic Trump way where he like can't message it correctly like he's a human being and not like a fucking rapacious scumbag sociopath. Because he does have a way with words when it comes to like talking about like tricky situations where he'll be like, yes, all of these little girls drowned. Highest amount of drowning of little girls from the standpoint of water. It's like, dude, that's crazy. I thought he was going to do that. He was going to be like, oh, it's inappropriate that he was like trying to little girls. Nope. Hired my masseuse.
Don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege
That's right.
of going
We need
to
to be
his
talking
island.
about Larry Summers'
No, you
connections
missed it.
to Epstein more.
You missed it. He said, I never had the privilege to go to the
Oh
island.
no, I heard the privilege comment earlier.
Yeah.
Like,
28 times.
I saw some of the
I
headlines.
never went to
about
the
this.
island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island.
Oh, he then has to say like, no, you don't understand. I was invited to Pedophile Island.
But it's also he just said two contradictory things. It was a privilege, and a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
It was a privilege. I was invited. I just chose not to go.
I think it's a good test.
It's classic.
I think it's a good test though of like it doesn't sound like Jeffrey Epstein was necessarily like the coolest or most attractive guy. However, like there's certain people who it's like there's like, oh yeah, like if you want to come like hang out on my private island with this mysterious guy who we don't really know how he makes his money, but he seems a little weird. Like most people are like, you know what, pass. I'll pass on that one. And then other people are like, sign me up. I love private islands, and I don't care about the mystery of how somebody acquired one.
I will say, like any other person making this kind of an argument would get understandable ire from their base of support. They'd be like, what do you mean a lot of your best friends went to the fucking pedophile island and you were invited and you're calling it a privilege? But Donald Trump is the guy that doesn't get that kind of scrutiny in a situation like this, even though he's failing spectacularly. Wait, we got a defender. HasanAbi, the way you were covering it, like it's a serious thing and not mere sarcasm, hurts your credibility as well. Just let it go. We have a Turkish Donald Trump defender in the chat saying, oh, he was just being sarcastic, dude. Calm down.
I'm gonna be honest. It's like, I don't think he was like seriously trying to call it an honor. That's why it's like that guy's tweet is correct about it being a Freudian slip. I don't know how to stress this enough. If you're the president of the United States, even if like you're like trying to get around, like, you know, if you're just trying to get out of this, I have a really hard time believing that, saying like, look, I never had the privilege
of going to the pedophilia island.
Right, as you're also describing all the other like powerful people who went there. Like, it's not, I don't know what to say, man. Like, it's just not the way to express that.
He wasn't being sarcastic. He fucked up and said it was a privilege. Like, for anybody else, you could have a little bit more charity, but for a guy who's been photographed with Jeffrey Epstein a million times, for a guy who literally unceremoniously, uncharacteristically said, Ghislaine Maxwell, I wish her well, after she was charged with pedophilia, sex trafficking.
Yeah, he like loses, like, again, like it would, I could see it like if you were trying to be funny in the context of the rest of these remarks too, but he wasn't. Like, he's earnestly pleading his case about why he shouldn't be considered an Epstein associate or whatever.
I guess I'm going to be that person. There are some protesters outside accusing the GOP of protecting pedophiles, and we're wondering what you think are the reasons the U.S. government should shield the client list of Epstein from the public, and what you...
They're saying you were not invited to the island because your vibes are fucked, man. They're saying you were uninvited from the pedophilia island because your vibes were too bad for the rest of the pedophiles. It's a great honor. It was a great honor and a privilege. But they invited me. I said no.
You have to say about any relevance to that here today?
Well, let me say just a couple of things. First of all,
God, his like fake enthusiasm and like millennial speak makes me so angry.
First of all,
I guess we stepped into it, huh?
been very clear, we're not shielding anything. The president has directed the attorney general
also
to release all credible information, and frankly, to go and find additional credible information related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He's been incredibly transparent about that stuff, but some of that stuff takes time. You've got to assemble that stuff. You've got to compile that stuff. You've got to redact some victims' names so that you protect the victims. But the president has been very clear. He wants full transparency. He's asked that from the Attorney General, and I know, because I talk to her all the time, the Attorney General is hard at work on that issue right now. But I think I got to make an observation that there's an interesting thing about this case that the American media seems to totally ignore. For 4 years, under Joe Biden's Department of Justice, the media didn't give a damn about the Epstein files or about the Epstein case. For literally 20 years, the story about this scumbag, and he is a scumbag pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, he's dead now, but for 20 years,
like
you
him
had
imitating,
Obama and George
Trump.
W. Bush's Department of Justice go easy on this guy. They didn't fully investigate the case. They didn't show any curiosity about the case. And now Donald J. Trump is asking his Department of Justice to show full transparency. And somehow that's a criticism of Donald J. Trump and not Barack Obama and George W. Bush. If you want to criticize the people who aren't showing full...
Dog, you can say there were many Jeffrey Epstein affiliates in Barack Obama's circle, which is true. But Barack Obama was not caught on camera with Jeffrey Epstein. It's
Donald
that simple.
Trump told New York Magazine that Jeffrey Epstein is a great guy and
Who
that
loves
everybody
fucking young girls.
It's that simple, man.
Like, it's wild.
It's that simple. I mean, this is where I suppose it's, you know, it goes back to like that, even that thing from the movie last night of like that Roy Cohn bit about like one of the lessons that Trump supposedly learned from him, which is just like attack, attack, attack.
And never admit defeat.
Admit nothing, deny everything, claim victory. that kind of only works when like you don't have
a mountain of
because ultimately, by the way,
implicating you.
how does like Roy Cohn like get away with the situation they're in when like Roy Cohn's like you thought the rules didn't apply to you? They just have to do blackmail. Like you have to do blackmail.
Sexual blackmail.
Yeah, that's true. It is sexual blackmail.
It's interesting, isn't it?
There's just no like you can't undo this. You can't put like this toothpaste back in the tube. So the idea that you would try and like recast it as like a winning issue against the Democrats, like you created this mess. And like, you hired people who are way too incompetent to be able to figure out how to do like a limited hangout to defang